Today I decided I'd design a new kite. I call this kite Sneaky 25. 25 is the length of the bow that's in this kite. And in this case I'm using a carbon fiber rod, 1.5 millimeters in diameter, 25 inches long, as my starting point for making the kite. I often use the length of the bow to begin the process. I'm not sure why I do it that way. There are lots of ways to do this. I'm just showing you what I do, and maybe it'll help you find a way that works good for you in designing and modifying or modifying a kite plan that you have that you may want to improve or experiment with. Now, you know, if you're involved in fighter kiting at all, you know that a diamond-shaped kite like this, or a derivative of a diamond shape like this, is what most fighter kites look like. And they all are quite similar. There's very little differences between one and another. But I am a real fan of line touch competition. The aerial combat game line touch with fighter kites, to me, is one of the most fun things there is to do. And so when I design a kite and or build one, my intention is that that kite be competitive in a line touch competition. Now, not everybody wants line touch to be their primary goal in designing and making a kite. I do, and so that's how I approach it. So with this kite, my goal is to make a kite for light winds using a relatively flexible bow, 25-inch length, and begin with that in mind to design a kite. Well, I came up with this, and I will post a still photograph of the dimensions here if you want to copy them or modify them and make your own kite. But I start by making a vertical line. I make it about 2 feet long, and I just use cardboard for my templates. It's a thin cardboard. It's a repurposed postal box that I use, and it works fine for a template. Easy to cut, easy to draw on, and they last a long time. I've made many kites from a single template. Now, once I make this line, which is my spine, make it 24 inches long. Now, I'm not going to make the kite spine 24 inches long, but I want a line there for a reference. And then I measure from the end or near the end of the line to a point where I want the wingtips to be. Now, the wingtips, location of the wingtips, to me is an important measurement, and small variations can make quite a difference in the performance of a kite. The same is true with the shape and size of this nose area that's above the bow. And you can see I have made many different lines trying to see what I thought might be the best. And of course it's a guess, I don't know, but I draw several lines and I use a reference along the trailing edge, because once I make this spine line and I measure down to where the wingtip line will be and make a perpendicular line here for the wingtip line, then I know that I want the distance between the nose and the wingtip line to be a little shorter than the distance between the wingtip line and the tail of the kite. So I kind of figure that in this instance the spine is 17 1/8 inches long total. And I eyeball it. How does that look? Does the proportion look about what I think it might fly well? So that's what I do. And once I do that, then I put what I call a bow setter, but it's just a stick. In this case it's an part of an aluminum yardstick. But I've cut notches in the edges, and these notches are measured one to the other, and they represent the wingtips of my kite right here. So I can then put my bow actually on the template material and draw around it to get the shape that I want for the leading edge of the kite. Now the nose, though, where the nose meets the bow, this is the part that I find interesting and can make quite a significant difference in the way a kite flies. If you make the nose really wide versus very, very narrow, makes a difference in how the kite flies. Doesn't make it fly better or worse, because we each have our own preferences for that. And for me, this is sort of an intermediate size nose in terms of width. I had tried several different ones, and this is what I ended up with. And the way I do that is I measure from the wingtip along the trailing edge. I draw the trailing edge line to the tail of the spine, and then I measure down from the wingtip on the trailing edge, in this case it's a 1/2 inch, and draw a line from there to the nose of the spine. That represents my extended nose leading edge line, and I do it on both sides. And once I find that and where it meets, then when I cut the template, I cut an extra section from the nose meeting the bow all the way to the wingtip for a fold over hem around the bow in that part of the kite. And here I have a tab, which is where when I make the kite, I will glue with contact cement the tips of the bow and fold over these tabs to hold it in place. Once that's done, then I apply contact cement and bond the rest of the bow to the sail.